If you are interested in learning how to make this particular design, then keep watching. I have my material here. I have the measurements I'll be using for this particular training. So let's go draft out the pattern, okay, without wasting much time. So I have my lines drafted out. So this is my shoulder line, and from my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches. That is what I have here. From my shoulder to my under bust point I have 13 inches. From my shoulder to my waistline is 16 inches. So without wasting much time, let's dive into the tutorials. Okay, so the first thing I need to do now is to get my shoulder measurements, which is about 14 inches. When divided by 2, I have 7 inches. I'm going to mark it, make a point there. Then from there I'm going to come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Then for my neck width, I'm using the neck width of 3 inches. So I'm going to mark 3 inches here. Then connect these lines together to make my shoulder slope. Then for my chest line, I'm going to divide my bust circumference by 6, then add 1.5 to it. The bust circumference I'm working with is 36 divided by 6 plus 1.5 should give me 7.5. So this becomes my new chest line. So I'm going to mark 7 inches here. Then I'm going to extend the line because it's now my chest line. So I'm going to label chest line here. This is chest line. So next is to connect this line together and make a shoulder slope, my armhole curve rather. So I'm going to divide this by 2. Then come out by half an inch for my shoulder curve. Then my bust circumference divided by 4. I should have 9 inches because I'm working with 36 inches. So I'm going to connect these 3 curves together to make a perfect armhole curve. So after this, I'm going to impute my DATS. The DATS measurements I'm working with is 3.5. So the measurement for this is my bust circumference divided by 8 minus 1, and it's giving me 3.5. So I'm going to mark 3.5 inches all the way down and connect with a straight line. So for my DATS, I'm going to take 0.75 inches on both sides of this straight line. 0.75 inches on both sides to make a total of 1.5 inches for my busts, for my DAT, okay? Then here I'm going to come down here by 0.75 inches too. Then I'm going to also go up by 0.75 inches, then make a curve here. So after making this curve, I'm going to divide my shoulder by 2. This shoulder line by 2. Then with a straight line, I'm going to join it to this line. My bust point rather. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and impute the sweetheart neckline, and I'm going to go up by 7 inches. That's from my waistline, from my shoulder line rather. 7 inches. I'm coming down by 7 inches. Then from my bust point, I'm coming up by 1 inch or half inch, depending on how you want your cleavage to show. Then I'm going to make a sweetheart neckline with this curve. So after this, I'm going to draw a dot here to connect this 0.75 dots here. So also make another point here for your bust tightening, okay? This is 0.75 and this is also 0.75. So I'm going to connect with a curve. So after that, I'm going to make another line here. So this becomes my new shoulder line. Okay, then automatically this is going out. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to impute my measurement here. So I have my chest my bust divided by 4 here as 9. Then for my waist, I'm working with waist of 32 inches divided by 4. I should have 7.5 inches. Then I'm going to replace this 1.5 inch that I removed for the dart over here. Then I'm going to connect it. So after that, I'm going to, from this bust point, I'm going to come down by half an inch or 1 inch, depending on how busty your client is. But for me, I'm coming down by 0.75 inches so that it won't be too much. Then I'm going to connect it to this line. Maybe you can mark like 2 inches away from here. Just connect it for your side dart, okay? So this is how the front pattern looks like. So I went ahead to notch this inside so that it will be able to, relax. So this is what I have. So I'll go ahead and cut out exactly what I have here on my fabric. Alright, for the back panel, I have my shoulder line here. Then I have my shoulder to my bust point, from my shoulder to my under bust, and from my shoulder to my waistline here. Then I have about 1.5 inch allowance here for my zip, okay? Then I'm going to go ahead and measure 7 inches to this point, okay? Then I'm going to come over to this place for my neck width, which we're using total of 3 inches. Then I'm going to come down here for the shoulder slope, just like we did initially for the front panel. Then I'm going to connect the lines together. Okay, so from here I'm going to get my chest line, which is 7.5. Then I'm also going to mark 7 inches from here. From here I'm going to mark 7 inches, then connect the lines together just like we did initially. So I'm going to divide my bust point by 4, and when divided I have 9, so I'm going to mark my 9 inches here. Then I'm going to connect the line with the curve. I'm not going to come in by half inch or anything, so I'm just going to make a curve here for my back armhole. So this is basically my back armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is to divide this by 2, just like we did for the front panel. When divided by 2, I should have like 2 inches, okay? Then I'm going to determine how deep I want the back to be. So I think it's okay here. I think 9 inches is okay if you want yours to be very deep, but okay, you can go ahead, but 9 inches is okay for me. So I'm going to make a curve here. Okay, let me extend this chest line. Then make a curve. It depends on how curvy you want your back to be. Then I'm going to insert my darts. So I'm using 3.5 inches for that. Then half an inch on both sides because the back is not too curvy like the front. So I'm just taking total of 1 inch for my back allowance for my back darts. So over here I'm going to mark 3.5. Then over here 3.5. Then up to the chest line. Okay, so after that I'm going to connect the lines together, the 3.5 lines together. Then this half inch I'm going to connect it over to this place, then with these two. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is to insert my measurements. This is my waist measurement is 32 inches divided by 4. I should have 7.5. Then add this 1 inch back. So I'm going to connect it to this chest line we made earlier. Okay, my bust circumference divided by 4. So after connecting it, one thing you should know is that the back half length is usually bigger than the front. It's usually shorter than the front half length. So you can measure your clients and know the difference. So for me, I will be using 0.75 inches as the difference between my back half length and the front half length. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark. So this becomes my new half length. This is my new half length. So next thing I'm going to do now is to make a slope at the back, kind of a curve at the back. So I'm going to come in here by 1 inch, let's say 0.75 inches. Okay, so that you have the curvy back side. Then I'm going to still add that 0.75 inches somewhere here, 0.75 inches somewhere here. Then I'm going to connect it to this point so that we'll have a curvy back side. Then this I'm going to reconnect this. I don't know if you are getting what I am drawing. So let me just use this so you can understand better. So with this I'm going to make my new zip allowance. So I'm using a total of 1.5 inch for my zipper allowance. So I'll go ahead and mark 1.5 inches up all the way to this place, and this becomes my new zip allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. So guys, I have my waistline here, my hip line here, and my full length. So the full length of the gown I'm making is 40 inches, and we already have 16 inches for the front panel. Okay, we already have 16 inches for the front panel, and when you deduct 16 inches from this panel, you should have about 40 inches, and that is all we have here. And from my hip line from my waistline to my hip is 11 inches. You can go about and measure your client. So my my waist is 32 divided by 4. I should have 7.5. So this is my 7.5 for my waistline. So for the back parts, I'm going to add total of 1.5 inches, because the front part I won't add that to it. So the back parts will have that, so, and extra allowance. So I'm adding total of 1.5 inches for the that, which I will explain later. Then for my hip, I'm working with hip of 42 inches divided by 4. I should have 10.5 inches. This is 10.5 inches. Then 10.5 inches, I'm going to reduce 2 inches from this hemline to get the actual measurement for this hemline. So for the hem, I should have like 8.5 inches when you deduct 2 inches from it. This is 8.5 inches. So I'm going to connect the lines together to so for this side, I'm going to use a curl to make it curvy. Then for the back, I'm going to still connect the lines together. Okay, this is for the back panel. Then over here to the back, I'm going to reduce the back by 0.75 inches towards this waist. So I'm going to go down by 9 inches. Then you connect it. So just remember that we have already imputed that here. Then for your back dart, from here I'm going to mark out total of 3.5 inches for my, then I'm going to notch it, then 1 inch on both sides. Okay, so I'm going to notch this please, so that when I'm transferring it on my fabric it will be easier for me. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the excess. So for the front part, I'm going to remove this excess here. So this is the front basic body and this is the back basic body. For my petal, I'm going to fold this pattern paper into 4 just like this and take total 4 inches here. Then make a straight line. After making a straight line, I'm going to come out here by 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch here. Just mark 1/2 inch here and also mark 1/2 inch here. This is it. Then make a curve like leaf, then make another curve like leaf. Then I'm going to cut it out. So when I get to this point, I'm going to fold this way so that I'll get the same shape of pattern on both sides. So this is how the petal looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and use a plain fabric for this.